Hello, you're here with us on episode 21 with the Grocery Guru. Andrew, our Grocery Guru, how are you?
Very well, Dan. Yeah, you good?
Yes, very good, very good. Andrew, this week we are talking about Hagglebot. Something you know
Oh,
something about, I think.
Wasn't that Robbie Coltrane in the Harry Potter films? The big guy that lived outside the school, didn't he?
I think that was Hagrid.
Oh, a Hagrid bot. Sorry, I misheard you. So not a Hagrid bot, a Hagglebot.
We're talking about Hagglebot. So I've got this piece that I've done some research on with Hagglebot. And what I'd like to do is get your take as the grocery guru on what's happening in the world of supermarkets, haggling, negotiating. So I'm going to read some of this out. But before I do, what's your understanding of Hagglebot?
Well, I suppose it's this new sort of AI, artificial intelligence way of negotiating. So obviously I think can come out of the States. I think maybe one might use it where they sort of automate the negotiation process. I mean, in my world, it goes back to, I mean, one of the scariest things I ever saw was an e-auction that we did years back, an e-auction for tinned tuna, I think it was. And Jesus, it was brutal negotiation I have ever seen. When you let basically computers set the prices and suppliers don't know who they're bidding against.
Yeah.
Absolutely brutal. And if I'd have been, the suppliers, I'd have been in tears at the end.
So it's like a blind auction, isn't it?
Yeah. Literally, place your bids, a huge amount of business, so no supplier can afford to lose it.
Yeah.
And yet you're bidding blind against a computer that suddenly says, no, you need to come down $50 more a ton. So I guess you could call that, I mean, that was, that was serious haggle botting, to use your phrase.
Well, it seems to be coming up more and more. Let me share this with you. There is the Olympics for Hagglebots. They're on their 11th year. And it's artificial intelligence pitched against artificial intelligence and or pitched against humans. It tends to be universities. They tend to be, the winners tend to be Turkey or Japan with the best Hagglebots. We're 11 years in, but the first Hagglebot was developed in the 1980s and was called Negoist. Never heard of that. But here's a statement I'd like to share with you and see what you think. Humans have the upper hand, understanding emotion and subject matter expertise, but can falter when there are many issues.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, when you bid on eBay for something, that's a sort of electronic negotiation, isn't it? You place your bid and then you get told, oh, you've been outbid.
Yeah.
And that works in a very black and white linear way. But let's come down to our world of food. There's a specification for product. There's delivery times, there's payment terms. There's so many, as we call them, tradables.
Yeah.
That could you program a computer to get all those nuances? And then at the end of the day, it is looking somebody in the eye and doing a deal with them. So I can see, electronic negotiation, haggling, whatever you want to call it, working when it's very simple transactions and you've got thousands of suppliers. I can see it being beneficial to an organization to use almost like Tickbox buying. And in the last week, there's been a few news items where a particularly large online player has been sending out sort of Tickbox requests for terms of doing business. Now, in my day, it used to be called something like grenade phishing.
Grenade phishing.
You throw an email out there with a whole load of outrageous requests, let it explode amongst the supplier base, and you guarantee, 50% of the fish will land up on the shore.
Wow. And I guess the online retailer, we're talking about Amazon, have done some of this. They've been in the press with this stuff, haven't they?
Yeah, there's been some press about them. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. Walmart, you mentioned, I think, they have an AI system of negotiating called Pactum, Pactum. Sounds like something else. Yeah, they're negotiating contracts and prices. But let me try this one on you. If everything is known, so this is from the AI chatbot Olympics guys, the founder, negotiations should never have to happen at all. You need 0 rounds and the deal is struck immediately if everything is known. What do you think about that?
I think they need to get out more. Come on, the world's not like that. I mean, you know, think back to what we used to do. Even if you knew absolutely everything, you'd still ask for that extra few p, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would. You would. I think these guys are wrong.
Yeah, well, that's the bit that says. I mean, we've always said, you know, negotiation, and we do an exercise, don't we, in all negotiation workshops. The first exercise we do, and we prove that if you put 6 sets of 2 people doing exactly the same negotiation with exactly the same brief and knowledge, you get 6 different results, because it's generally the person that's the most aggressive, the most pushy, the most ambitious, the most ambitious gets the better deal. So yeah, computers can do so much, but the minute you stick human beings in the mix, you know, emotions get involved. Some human beings are more naturally aggressive than others. Some are more passive. Some people are just having a good day or a bad day, and change a negotiation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, here's another bit. They're saying that within 3 minutes of a deal, the bots, by looking at our facial recognition, the pitch of our tone, how much it changes, can predict the outcome.
Well, I can imagine that. I mean, you know, anybody that's a card player, you know, the best card players are those that can read their opponent's mannerism, what have you. You know, we've never got into that. I've never got into that sort of that side of negotiation, the way, you know, the way people look and behave. But you do tend to pick up, don't you, whether somebody's comfortable. You know, I remember we always talk about, you know, never look comfortable in a negotiation. If you're sitting back in your chair with your arms folded and your feet up with a great big Monte Cristo cigar, you're possibly making too much money. As opposed to sitting forward, looking a little bit on edge and using the sort of language of, oh, you know, you'll have the coat off my back, Darren, next. You know, we all do that gamesmanship.
Well, between this, I think that makes us very good trainers. So I'm very interested in the behavioural side of it rather than the techniques. So I'm interested in that body language that says, what are you really saying to me? And those little words that we use, which are about 21%, which really means it's not 21%, it's much, much more or much, much less. All right, Andrew, so what does this mean for supermarkets, grocery? Is the account manager dead? We don't need them anymore? Are they obsolete?
I don't think so. I think we have talked in previous ones of this about how the account manager's job is going to morph into more of a shopper insight manager, and that having the skills of understanding their shoppers almost as well as they do is massively important for account managers going forward. More negotiation will go online. You know, relatively undifferentiated products. So, you know, bags of sugar, bags of flour where there isn't a massive specification. Pretty easy to buy that on an E or Hugle platform. But once it gets complicated and the business gets big, you're going to need the human.
Andrew, I think we've just... Oh, sorry. The broadband's just catching up. Slight glitch, but I think I got the gist of what you were saying. Horses for courses.
Yeah, there does seem to be a bit of a delay. I hope the recording's better.
All right. I think we were talking about horses for courses there in terms of negotiation. If you've got a very standard basic product, then it's likely more e-auction. Something a bit more complex is going to be more negotiating with a human. And then we've got shopper insight, which is going to be the real battleground for the future. All right. Andrew, I think we've lost your broadband. So we're going to bring that to a close and we'll talk to you next week. Take care.